does not start until game 1. Then it continues to game 2, then it goes to game 3, and in game 3, the Milwaukee Bucks have finally arrived. Also, Team USA losing to Nigeria, Altuve losing his jersey, Djokovic winning everything, and está arrivando a Roma. Let's go! Let's go! It's going to Rome!
Tony. No problem. Bringing it home.
Bucks won. So the first question around the horn, Ramona Shelburne, is whether you think the Bucks figured something out here last night with the Game 3 win.
They did. What really happened in this game is that Giannis got to the rim, and he actually made his free throws this time. But he got to the rim mostly because DeAndre Ayton got in foul trouble pretty early in this game. And this is where you really feel the absence of Dario Saric. If you're the Suns, that's their backup center. They can't really play Frank Kaminsky in this series, so they had Cam Johnson out there, and Giannis against Cam Johnson. I'm really happy Cam had that great slam, because otherwise we'd just be talking about Giannis dunking on him all night.
Yeah. And what were the stats for Giannis in the paint? I know you have them right in front of you, Ramona.
12 for 12.
So you believe the Bucks figured something out. I'm not going to jump to the next question just yet. Emily Kaplan, I'll bring you in here. Did Milwaukee figure something out?
Yeah, they did. Well, first we just have to think of the context of Giannis. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he hyperextended his knee and was wondering, am I even going to play next year? Not only is he back, but he's playing his most aggressive self. 47 trips to the free throw line in the last 3 games. And I think Ramona is bang on in that they figured out how to use their size to the advantage. I mean, ever since Dario Saric went out, they don't really have an answer for that. This stat blew my mind. Giannis within 6 feet of the basket the last 2 games, 23 for 25 shooting. That's 90%. The entire Suns have only made 20 such shots, shooting 50%. That is the difference here.
Israel Gutierrez. Phoenix still leads 2-1.
Well,
but has Milwaukee figured something out?
Well, Giannis knows that he needs to live in the paint. He's shooting 79% in the paint. That's the highest number ever in an NBA Finals so far. The previous high is 72 from LeBron last year in the bubble, and you know he was living inside for a lot of that time there and dominating the smaller guys. And yeah, look, that's exactly what happened there. Giannis, and whether or not it has to do with his knee being a little bulky and maybe he just can't move laterally the way he normally can, and maybe he wants to live in the paint because he feels like that's his best option, it doesn't matter. He needs to do that. And maybe we said that against Brooklyn and he didn't do it as much, and maybe Brooklyn was a little bit better suited in terms of building a wall here, but we see it's available to them and we know that Giannis can do that. And so yeah, I think that's the biggest difference. But obviously at home, you've got Bobby Portis playing a game that he hadn't played in a while for this team. And you've got Drew Holiday doing things that, you expect him to do, not just offensively having a much more efficient game than the last time, but really making life miserable for Chris Paul. After the game, what Giannis said that stood out to me most is, hey, what was the biggest difference? We just figured out that we needed to play defense better, and they did play the defense better, and they made life miserable for Chris Paul and Devin Booker, who's skating, by the way, today with that not-so-great performance as their #1 scorer.
So there are adjustments, and then there are adjustments to adjustments in a series, in any series, Kevin Blackistone. What you saw last night was in Milwaukee just going home and things going right for them, or figuring something out?
Well, part of it was the home cooking, but Izzy just touched on it. I thought the biggest difference was Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is one of the biggest reasons they were down 0-2. He was playing horrifically, shooting less than 30% from the three-point line, shooting about 40% overall, not really having an impact, had some bad turnovers. This game flipped the script. 50% from the three-point line, 50% from the field, 21 points, extremely efficient, distributed the ball, played defense, and chased Devin Booker out of the game somehow, some way. And so I thought that was the biggest difference for Milwaukee in this game. We talked about all season long what an addition Drew Holiday was and changed the entire complexion of Milwaukee Bucks, and now you see the difference.
Ramona, I'm going to show some restraint here. I'm not going to ask if this changes the way you see how the series is going to go. We got the rest of the week, the rest of our lives for all that. But game plan for Phoenix for me. Now, having seen what Milwaukee did in Game 3, what's Monty Williams' move?
Well, look, I think for DeAndre Ayton, he was plus 23 in the first 2 games. He was minus 6 in Game 3. Okay? If he's on the court, they're doing pretty well, but in Game 3, he wasn't on the court a lot, and they weren't doing very well. He, to me, is the bellwether, and I think they have to do everything they can to get DeAndre Ayton comfortable again, but also protect him from picking up those fouls. He picked up 3 fouls in the course of a couple of minutes there and had to sit on the bench most of the game, and when he's out there, they are a really effective team. When he's not, they don't have a lot of depth there. And so I think Monty's got to figure out some other backup rotation, and maybe they just go real small. Maybe they just put Jay Crowder out there and run it and force Giannis to play small and get the ball out of his hands. But that's the adjustment you'll see between game 3
Israel,
and game
you
4, because
wanna
we
weigh in
have
here?
like a million days.
Adjustments here for Phoenix?
I think they're going to continue to try to get DeAndre Ayton in foul trouble because, frankly, if you look back at game 1 and games 1 and 2, when he was in there, not that he was just absolutely dominating, they did not have an answer for him if he's going to the offensive boards, if he's going for a defensive boards, if he's going for the pick and roll and just going toward the basket. He is the big body that makes Phoenix trouble for Milwaukee, and if he's not on the floor, it's going to be somewhat.
That's where Kevin Black is done.
The straw that stirs the drink for Phoenix was on the bench for most of the night, and that's Devin Booker. He's got to obviously be on the floor. He's got to be hoisting up threes. He's got to be the offensive threat, the offensive guy, the offensive force that cannot be stopped.
All right, we've been horned. We'll move on. Can I have some audience participation from the panel here? Just put your hands up here. Stick them up just like this. Now, bring them closer to your body so everybody could see. Thank you. Remember, you're on TV. Turn them this way and go like this. Give me a little bit of this. Sta arrivando a Roma. It's coming to Roma.
Well, it's interesting because Southgate the manager seemed to pull all the right strings, even questionable ones that seemed to work out throughout the tournament, right? And so you get to this point only giving up the one goal going into this one. And here's the part that I find crazy interesting, just in terms of like the pressure that the English players were feeling. When you get that goal in the second minute, it's relief. You go the next hour of soccer playing thinking, okay, this is great. We might win this. There is no overwhelming pressure. And then it changes like that. And then you get another half an hour, 40 minutes, and then you get PKs. And so you're doing this at home. So you've got to recognize sort of the buildup of the pressure, where it went from no pressure until the 67th minute to the most extreme pressure in the PKs. And you put your 3 youngest players down the stretch, the last one of which hadn't taken a PK for club or country, I believe, in his career. So I think that was a huge mistake, not recognizing the moment. I know normally you put your better guy at the top. That's their strategy. That's what they did with Harry Kane. Maybe would have thought about going him toward the back end on this one, because that's the time you need to have that, that wherewithal and that recognition of the moment. And those young guys just weren't able to come through.
Emily Kaplan.
Southgate did do everything right up into this tournament, right? He stood behind his players
up into this game. Yeah.
It was very up until this game. He made some lineup decisions. For example, Trappier, that is his guy. He put him out there. He set up the goal with Shaw. But after they scored that goal, he made no tactical adjustments to get them to generate some more offense. And then once you get to penalty kills, it can be a crapshoot. And trust me, this manager knows that more than anybody, because in 1996, he was the one that missed a penalty kick.
Yes.
But I think we need to think big picture here, because in 2013, the head of the federation, Greg Dyke, said in 2022, England's going to win a World Cup. And everyone in the country chastised them and said, no way. Well, they've hit all of their benchmarks along the way. Half of the players on this team are 25 or under. They're going to be in very good position, and this manager will learn from his mistakes.
Yeah, that's a very optimistic side of all this. That's not what England is feeling necessarily today, but I'll bring Ramona Shelburne in here. Anywhere you want to start with this?
Look, if it works, it's great. Then today we're talking about, the young guys, they don't even know the pressure that they should be feeling, right? I mean, if that move works to bring on the 2 subs in the 120th minute and then simply to take that penalty kick, great, he's a genius. But it didn't work, okay? And I think of the 3 misses, the only one I thought that was pretty bad was Marcus Rashford. That was the one where he had a wide open net, he had a good fake, and he just hit the crossbar. It was almost too good, and he kind of made it right. He hit the post, and so I think that was the only one. The other ones were just great saves. Can we give some love to the goalkeeper?
Yes.
I mean, those were great saves, and so I know that there's a lot to discuss about those moves, putting those 2 guys in the spot there. Look, the goalkeeper made 2 great saves.
Okay. I'm sensing you guys. I mean, not one mention until Ramona right there of this Italian team. Kevin Blackstone, I'll turn to you. I say that in jest. Anywhere you want to start with it. The kicks, the strategy here. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, I'll start with the Italian team. I mean, look, they fell behind in this thing quickly and early. Your suds hadn't even settled on your pint before they were down 1-0. And then they even it, and then they fight to the very end. And then I heard an interesting stat. I was listening to BBC broadcast, because I love British broadcasters, and they pointed out that no team had won 2 PKs in a single Euro, And so now the pressure is even on them again. And I remember 1994 World Cup out in LA being at that final where it came down to PKs and Italy did not come through. So this time they come from behind, they come through on PKs, they beat a great goaltender in Pickford. I mean, he was having an incredible show out there, and they still brought it home. So
you're alluding to the ghost
to do it in England.
of previous penalty kicks, and of course Roberto Baggio's name comes up for the Italians, but nobody's got ghosts. Nobody's got ghosts like England. I will say about this Italian team, this is an Italian team like you've never seen before. I mean, that defensive stalwart, that's there, but this team is aggressive in their offensive game like they've never been. I'd be remiss, though, not to talk about some of the racist attacks that are coming against these English players right now. Global soccer all around the world has a tremendous and a huge problem with racism. And every time they think they get their arms around it, something like this happens. And it needs to stop. There is no, teams will win, teams will lose, kicks will be missed in every competition by all people. This is an absolute disgrace. We're going to take a break right here. Argentina winning the Copa. Can I draw some attention to that? Messi finally getting his major national title. No one disputes that Messi's the best player in this generation. But some are asking, did he need to win this national title tournament? Which is another example of Rings Mountain devouring all in its path. It was great to see him win. We'll be back with Buy or Sell. You knew we were getting a Shohei Ohtani takeover at this All-Star game, but this is how much take is being over. All right? Home Run Derby tonight. Starting pitcher for the American League tomorrow. Leadoff hitter for the American League tomorrow at designated hitter. This is all in play for Shohei Ohtani, the weekend and week that is. At the same time, a separate conversation's happening via Stephen A. Smith today on First Take over his placement as face of the game and whether he should be using a translator or not. This is all part of a greater discussion here, but I want to start with you, Ramona Shelburne, whether you think Shohei Ohtani is being asked a little bit too much this week.
Look, I mean, this is a guy who wants to do all of this, right? He wants to hit and pitch. This is what the reason he signed with the Angels is because they would let him hit and pitch. So I think he likes all of this. Now, I covered a guy a couple years ago in the NBA who they put in a similar position, especially early in his career, Blake Griffin in Los Angeles, where they asked him to be in the rookie-sophomore game. They asked him to jump over a car. They asked him to play in the All-Star game. It was a lot on him, and I think it took him a couple of weeks to recover from it when he got back into season. So we might not see if it's too much right now. Well, let's just see how he does after the All-Star
Emily
game.
Kaplan.
Yeah, as Marona said, his manager, Joe Madden, says the best version of Shohei Ohtani is when he's not being limited. He wants to do all of this, and this is a showcase. It's not the World Series. Let him do all of it. As for the issue of language, I have covered so many players in hockey where English is not their first language. They can speak some English. They just don't feel comfortable speaking in front of a camera. We should not expect that of it. They're making adjustments to us. We should make adjustments to them. Why don't we learn their language?
Israel Gutierrez.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when Yao Ming in the NBA used to use a translator a lot of the time, and he was quite a face of the NBA and not a big problem with that. I would say for Shohei Ohtani, the more attention, the better. I know he's close to LA, but he has to do all these feats and hit all these ridiculous home runs for us to pay attention to him. We need to see him a lot more often, and obviously we only have one All-Star game, so as much as you can throw him in there, the better.
Kevin Blackenstall.
Many voices, one world. That's the way I see things. So I have no problems with Shohei Ohtani's language as being the face of anything, be the face of everything. And the reason he's doing this and the reason he's being showcased is because of what everybody said. He's a two-way player. Come on. That's what makes him so special right now.
Buy or Sell 2, Novak Djokovic's moment. His 6th Wimbledon, which gives him 20 majors, which ties Federer and Nadal for most all-time for men. And now the chance to move beyond them and set the all-time record at the U.S. Open and complete the first calendar Grand Slam since Rod Laver 52 years ago. It's all in play for Djokovic, Emily Kaplan. Are you buying right now that yesterday's Wimbledon win moves Djokovic ahead of everybody, the greatest ever?
Yes, he has been the #1 in the world for 328 weeks. 119 more than Nadal and 18 more than Federer. And guess what? He has won head-to-head competitions against both of those guys. I love what he said after the match. He's like, early in my career it was a little rough. I wasn't winning the matches, but the last decade's been good to me. He is 34, and out of the three of them, the only one that's still hitting his stride.
Israel.
I remember watching Prime Federer and thinking to myself, man, nobody's ever done what this guy's doing. I don't know if anybody ever can. And then Djokovic comes along and it's just like, wow, he's hitting a lot of those same shots and seems to be doing it faster and winning more tournaments. And so now he's at 20. I don't know if you can go ahead and claim him now as the GOAT, but he's going to be the GOAT when it's all said and done. So if you have to claim it now, I would say yes, but that's only, it's not done yet. You could have some sort of injury or something like that. But yeah, I think he's the GOAT.
Kevin Blackistone?
Yeah, and quantitatively, as you just pointed out, there's no reason that we should not say that he's the number one tennis player on the men's side of all time. But here's the thing. What an era we just had. These three guys all together, Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer. I mean, what sport has ever seen this type of greatness before from three players? So let's just celebrate that rather than just picking out one guy.
Understood, Kevin, but you said quantitatively he's the greatest of all time, which means you're putting a qualifier for a reason, and I want you to define it here. But you would agree he's not as beloved as Federer or as Nadal. Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. And who doesn't like Federer? I mean, he just had this personality that everyone kind of adopted, and Nadal was this grinder and what he did at Roland Garros all the time. And Djokovic, a little bit different, maybe not as easy to put your arms around, but absolutely no reason to at this point. Not to at this point.
Ramona Shelburne.
Yeah, instinctually I was going to say Federer just because I think I like him better. I think I like his persona better, but we think of Djokovic as the young guy in those matches where he would play Fed and he would play against Nadal. But this was his 8th major since turning 30. I mean, he's kind of the old guy now, and he's still winning.
Ramona Shelburne, 26. Kevin Blackistone, 25. That's usually good enough to get you into showdown. Oh, Ramona, don't make that face. Ramona. Oh, no.
I'm sad. I haven't been on him. I thought I was going to be in the showdown. No.
Oh, I mean, you'll be in the showdown. You'll just be watching Emily Kaplan and Israel Gutierrez. 2 minutes. Years ago at the Olympics, Team USA beat Nigeria by 83. 5 years ago, when they played an exhibition, Team USA beat Nigeria by 43. So, Nigeria 90, USA 87 in this weekend's exhibition, with Durant, Lillard, and Popovich taking the L. Got panicked headlines, but Popovich went the other way, said, I'm kind of glad it happened. Israel? Emily, great to have you here in Showdown. Is Olympic gold in doubt, Israel?
I believe so. I mean, look, I'm not one to ignore signs. They obviously lost in a time that they normally don't lose. And teams are getting better. They're going to play Australia tonight. Australia's loaded with NBA talent. We're going to see. I don't think it's nothing. It's something to sneeze at, if that is a saying, right?
I don't know what you're talking about there. Go ahead, Emily.
I don't know if this game taught us anything about the USA team because they got together 4 days ago, had a little scrimmage the night before, we're treating it like whatever. Nigeria's been together since June 20th. Intense preparations. They're not just representing the country, the continent. They wanted this more.
They have 9 NBA players on their roster as well. Nothing to sneeze at. You don't have something to sneeze at, then you're just sneezing.
Well, why can't you have the out?
Showdown 2, the Yankees-Astros proving we live in a live simulation, right? Judge and Sanchez hit home runs and trolled Altuve's jersey moment when the Yankees were winning the series. But then that's, of course, a callback to Altuve in the ALCS, where he wouldn't take off his jersey. That led to Buzzergate. But, of course, it came down to Altuve with the game on the line Sunday. The Yankees blew a huge lead. And, of course, his bomb wins it. And, of course, the Astros rip off Altuve's jersey. Emily, does Altuve get credit for a last laugh here?
I think he gets the last laugh against his teammate Carlos Carrera, who told the media that he had a very embarrassing tattoo. We finally see this tattoo, and I'm not one to make value judgments, but it's daughter's name and a heart. That's not that embarrassing.
Israel?
I don't know about last laugh. I think there's some more laughs to be had, but he definitely gets the bigger laugh because Aaron Judge's joke was a couple of years old and not that clever, so absolutely.
Can you just let an expression be the expression, Israel? Second to last laugh? Point game, FaceTime, Emily Kaplan. That's something to sneeze at. There you go.
The Tampa Bay Lightning had their boat parade today, and I just want to say, they are the champions we deserve in this time. Gary Bettman is obsessed with parity. This is a team that built its team the right way, but also figured out a way to skirt the salary cap. We always talk about players not showing personality. Well, we all saw Nikita Kucherov's scorched earth shirtless presser, and then people say, oh, that's not the personality we want. Yo, guys, if he wants to lean into the villain, let him do it. For years, the NHL shoved Alex Ovechkin versus Sidney Crosby in our face, but Tampa Bay versus the world, that's the rivalry I'm here for next year.
God bless you, Emily. Israel, you're so good.